Going on YouTube, Cloverbelts here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Roaring Moon, but in the Regulation C format, and it's back, at least for this time being, because, you know, up until now we've been seeing a bunch of Dragonite taking command in that Dragon slot, for a good reason, right? Inner Focus and Multi-Skill are very good abilities, and Dragonite is able to combo well with the Chien-Pao, but now all of a sudden enter the Roaring Moon, and it's back. And not only is it back, it actually won these two recent tournaments here. We got the Pokefolk Regional C tournament that had $200 in cash prizes. And then we had the Tomodachi Challenge, a much smaller tournament. This one had 131 people, which is a very, very good size for a tournament. And then this one was much smaller. This one only had about 17, right? But you can see like the flags for both tournaments, right? You can definitely tell that these people built together. And Marco had the idea, well, I don't even know if it was his idea or not, but on both sides, Piotr and Marco, they had this concept of putting Roaring Moon here rather than the Dragonite, and then just slap on a Ting-Lu. And honestly, like, I'm pretty sure this is just like some adaptation of a Regulation B team where it was Iron Hands in the slot, you know, the good stuff with Arcanine, Palafin, Amoongus, and then just slap on a bunch of Paradox Pokemon. So I'm pretty sure this was just like some replacement of the Iron Hands with Ting-Lu. And some teams will do that, right? Because just the Iron Hands doesn't fit their certain squads, and then they just put in the Ting-Lu, and now they get a little bit more of a benefit. But in this regard, it's nice to see Roaring Moon rather than like the Dragonite, and still see that it has relevance. But if you just look at this team overall, it's pretty much standard and consistent in how any Regulation B kind of Roaring Moon team would play, right? You still have the Fire Water Grass Core with the Arcanine, Palafin, Amoongus. You have the Flutter Mane for your special attack damage. The only thing here is the Ting-Lu. Now, technically the Ting-Lu can reduce the amount of damage that your Flutter Mane can deal at, but at the same time, it also reduces the other side as well. So Roaring Moon, Arcanine, and Palafin, they're going to stay on the field a little bit longer, and anytime you can combo Arcanine and the Ting-Lu is really good, right? Because what you're able to do is get off Intimidate, you know, reduce attack damage, then bring out the Ting-Lu for reduction in special attack damage. And now all of a sudden your Palafin and Roaring Moon, they're just able to come in comfortably and, you know, take reduced damage, but also deal big damage right back, okay? So on both sides, it was pretty much the same team, if I recall. It was a Dragon Dance Roaring Moon, which is really, really nice. And then the Flutter Mane was the main difference, I believe. Not from both sides, but like the unusual tech of Thunderbolt. Normally you would see something like Power Gem in that slot just to snipe, you know, potential Arcanines, other flying types, for that matter. But here we have Thunderbolt. I'm not sure why that's there. Maybe that's just for like opposing Palafins, for example, or maybe some other flying types, but I'm not sure why the Thunderbolt is there over the Power Gem, but it probably is for the Palafin, or maybe like some Terra Water stuff. But maybe even for the Iron Bundle, for example, but I'm not entirely sure. Those would be my two guesses, right? The Bundle and the Palafin. But if you look here with Ting-Lu, in terms of, we'll go into the team builder now. I already copied it. But if you look at the Ting-Lu set, very standard, you know, with the Assault Vest, Stomping Tantrum, Heavy Slam, of course, they're the two mainstays of a Ting-Lu set. And then you have Ruination here, which is really good. So instead of Fissure here, now you have something called Payback rather than Throat Chop or Fissure, or even Body Press or Rock Slide, for example. Now you have Payback here as another tech choice, which has double the power if you get to move after the target. So if you know something is going to outspeed you, which is very likely the case because you only have 45 speed, you're not very fast, Payback's going to do a lot of damage, right? And it's a dark stab move, and again, it's just really, really good chip damage, especially after like Ruination, which, you know, your Arcanine and Palafins can really take advantage of. And speaking of taking advantage, here you have the Roaring Moon, so you could even just like support Roaring Moon trying to set up the Dragon Dance by, you know, leading with Amoongus or leading with Arcanine just to reduce damage and just try and survive a hit, and then just go for that Dragon Dance, and then next turn start sweeping, right? So instead of a Tailwind set, this is probably some Adamant set with Roaring Moon, which is also pretty nice. The Amoongus, believe it or not, is actually really good this format, more than any other format, just because the Pollen Puff with this bug coverage is 4 times effective against, you know, Wo-Chien, right? And that's, you know, we've been memeing about it online a little bit, but Amoongus is the biggest counter to Wo-Chien, right? Because you can't get Sport, you're Grass type, and your Pollen Puff is doing 4 times effective damage to it. And if you get off any kind of Ruination chip on that thing, and then you just go for Pollen Puff, you could potentially just KO that Wo-Chien, which is actually kind of funny in that regard. But then, of course, the Palafin has Haze, which means you're able to put Protect on this Amoongus. And again, this is just your Dondozo check. But that being said, Dondozo not as relevant, but it's still pretty strong. It still has Top Cut or even won a couple of, regulationC tours, although all not that much. But you still need to respect it a little bit, right? And then the Flutter Mane here, of course, is just a choice spec set with a bunch of damage over here. And then Thunderbolt was the key tech choice that, just raised some eyebrows. But I understand it. Now, it's a really solid team. Like, if you wanted something that was, like, relatively balanced and you needed something to pick up just to, like, see what the format is like, this is one of those kinds of teams, right? And we have some of those teams on the channel already, that just have this core of Arcanine, Amoongus, and some water type, like maybe even the Palafin instead of the Iron Bundle, for example. But you're just able to, have certain Pokemon and certain movesets for almost every other matchup, and you have to play for those win cons depending on those matchups. But you have something for everything, right? And from there, it's just dependent on your play. But these kinds of teams are always going to do well, especially the fact that it's all balanced. And if you just had to do like some quick EV spreads for this, you can just go for like benchmarks and stuff like that. Even like the Ting-Lu here, if I had to just like EV this whole team, just like with rough general spreads without trying to do any kind of calcs, I would just do this. You have Stomping Tantrum, Heavy Slam, and Payback. You're just going to do a bunch of damage here. I would just do something like this. You don't really need defense. You just max out your special defense like this and then have some speed there, right? This is a good idea here with Ting-Lu. Just deal a bunch of damage, stay on the field, be bulky, and rely on your ability along with the Arcanine Intimidate to just deal damage and, pick up KOs after Ruination has taken chip. The Amoongus, same idea. You can even optimize for the berry a little bit. You can just go for 220 if you want, or just optimize for Regenerator and bring it to 219. But ideally, again, you're just going for like either the Careful or Defense boost. The Relaxed Nature, I like Relaxed Nature and just go for this. Very general benchmarks. Roaring Moon over here as another example. You can just go like an Adamant set. You can go up to the first bump here with 84, or you can go to the next bump with right here. We just skipped it, 198. Have a little bit of speed after a Dragon Dance, where you can just pretty much outspeed everything. This will outspeed like the Timid Goldengos and whatnot. Then you just go for even something like this, 207, right? This will optimize against Tyranitar Sandchip damage, and then from there you just have a little bit of bulk remaining after this, right? Again, this is very, very tough EV spreads. This is, I believe, one of my older Roaring Moon sets, but it still works, I'm sure. I didn't do any kind of calcs with like Ting-Lu or Arcanine stuff, but at the very least, I know you can live a Drain Punch from an Iron Hands potentially, right? So there's that. As after the Intimidate, Arcanine here, so because you have like extreme speed and Flare Blitz stuff, so maybe this is a little bit more of an offensive Arcanine, where again, you can just go for something like this, where you can just outspeed those Goldengos, and I think like even just this much will do that. So you can do that, and then Adamant 76 for the first benchmark in your attack stat. Then you could just honestly just max out its HP and put 1 point in the bulk like this, and this will do the job, right? That being said, Goldengo has fallen off a little bit, right? So maybe you might choose a different kind of speed tier, but this is still okay. All right, the Palafin, you can pretty much just go almost max with just some minor differences. But ideally, again, you're going for right here, 236 at least, with the benchmark and the attack stat, or you can just max it out completely and just say, yeah, I just need all my attack. And then you can go for some bulk like this, or 191, right? And then you have all this, EVs left to play with. You can just do something like this, and then just start investing, just like very general spreads. Or honestly, you could just do this and just go the rest into your HP. Just a very bulky Palafin that doesn't really rely on speed so much. Your job is just click Jet Punches and Wave Crashes, and rely on the bulk of your HP along with the Intimidate support from your Arcanine, along with the Vessel of Ruin ability from your Ting-Lu. Okay, and of course you have Will-O-Wisp from your own Arcanine again. But then the Flutter Mane, so you can just simply do a timid 252-252 spread, or you can do something else. And see, look, you have 187 special attack here. So what you can even also do is go modest and go a little bit slower. where you're at 116 investment, and here you still hit that special attack benchmark for timid nature. But then from here, what you can do is just you can max out this HP, put 1 point in the bulk here, and then the rest just goes into HP like this. You could definitely do this. Some people have done this, but if you just rather have a timid 252 spread and just go, in that regard, sure. Or if you want to do like the booster energy set that we were running, where you just outspeed Dondozo by 1 point, the Adamant 252 set, and then just go right here to the first benchmark. All right, and then pretty much go right here just to optimize against the Tyranitar Sand stuff, and then just go here into the defense. You can definitely do that as well. This is a bulky Choice Specs Flutter Mane set. That's also pretty cool. Again, this is the same Flutter Mane set that we've been using for a very long time now. I haven't had a problem with it. And now that you can combine this with the Arcanine Intimidate support along with Will-O-Wisp Pressure, now the Flutter Mane seems relatively bulky, which is also really, really nice. So if you had to use the same movesets and all these same Terras, just needed an EV spread, this is something that I would do. And again, Marco and the rest of his building crew, they have their own sets, I'm sure, and they probably have something very different or maybe something similar, who knows. But if I had to just do it really quick, I would just do something like this, pick it up and then just go into the ladder and start going up against other teams. But the idea here again with your Roaring Moon is, yeah, like I know Dragonite is a little bit more prevalent with the Qianpao stuff, but the Roaring Moon after Dragon Dance can just exert so much pressure with its acrobatics, Terra flying stuff, and then the Throat Chop is going to do a lot of damage, of course, especially after +1, and it doesn't really care whether it's something is resisted or not. It's just because you have so much chip damage going around here with like Flutter Mane Choice Specs, Palafin, Jet Punches, and then Ruination, Ting-Lu, that the Roaring Moon sometimes, just after one Dragon Dance can kill whatever it wants, even if something gets like resisted or neutral hit, for example. So it's a really, really cool team. I think Ting-Lu adds another dimension that Iron Hands cannot have in that regard of the Vessel of Ruin and along with the Ruination chip damage. So makes a lot of sense here. And it gives you some outs into certain situations, like even like Terra Poison other Ting-Lus, or Glimmoras, or Terra Poison Wo-Chiens. You have something for it because you have this ground coverage. Again, we always say ground coverage is important, but now here you more or less see it. But yeah, it's a really, really cool team. And again, it's nice to see that Roaring Moon is still running around rather than just like Dragonites everywhere. But it's a really, really cool balance squad that can definitely have good success when the format opens up officially. So shout outs to Marco and those guys. But again, just wanted to make a video and highlight this team. And it's really nice to see that Roaring Moon still has relevance in regulationC. All right. And again, if this is something that you're interested in, where we make EV spreads like this for you, and if you're trying to go to Fort Wayne, which is the first upcoming regional for regulationC, we've already had a bunch of coaching sessions with people in terms of team building. And if this is also something you're interested in, then check out our link in our channel for a tier 3 sub to sign up for coaching. Again, it's in the video description. It's also in the comments section. Every single video has a join button where if you click it, it'll take you to the tier sub page where if you do join with tier 3, you're able to sign up with that team building session. And then we do a one-on-one Discord call and we get you that team that you need to compete in these online tournaments or this upcoming regional. All right, that'll be it for now, guys. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out. Have a good night.